And we're live, it looks like. And we're gonna take a look at... we're gonna review every upcoming card for the new expansion. I haven't done this in a long time. I have done card reviews before. Pretty fun, just since I like to sit and talk about my opinion on strategy. So card reviews seem like an obvious way to do that. So here we go. However, you see, so we're gonna go through. This is the website. We're gonna just go through all the cards one by one. How many cards are there? We've got 3, 6, so 10 for each class. It looks like, and then so that's already 100 right there, right? 10 classes, or 11 classes, 110. How many classes are in Hearthstone? There used to be 9, and they've added 2, so there are 11 classes. Thing. And then for neutral, we've got 6, 12, 18, 24, 35. So we've got 145 cards. So let's get into it. Here's how we're going to rate them. We're going to keep it simple since we're doing all of them. 3 stars, okay? The first throw, so if a card earns 3 stars, that means it sees play, and it is the reason it sees play. Basically, it's good. It's a good card. Good enough to see play. There will be some good cards that are great that don't see play that won't get 3 stars. Okay? 3 stars means it sees play, and the reason it sees play is because it made the deck that it is in possible to have the win rate required for that deck to see play, right? 2 stars means it sees play, but it's kind of lucky that it sees play. So it's either like a tech card that's gonna get slipped into some decks. It's a card enabler, but like honestly, it's a little bit suspect on its own, but you know it's gonna go into a winning deck. It might not be the reason the deck is viable. It's that card's just there to play into a deck because one of the other cards that was printed was a 3-star card that is causing us to want to play this deck. Okay, and then a 1-star card is just that it won't see play. Most of these will be 1-star cards. Most cards, a vast majority of cards, don't see play. So 3 stars. It sees play. It sees a lot of play. It's the reason it sees play. It's like, you know, one of the higher win rate cards in the set. 2 stars. It sees play, but it's not a high win rate card. Not one of the highest win rate cards. Or it doesn't see much play, you know. And then 1 star, it sees almost no play. There will be some cards that I rank as 1 star that I maybe like. I'm also giving you in my review an understanding that it might be in some decks that aren't very good and popular. And so we're not going to worry about this card too much. We're going to rate it 1 star to star. Not because it's like, no one will, not literally no one will put it in any decks, but anyone who chooses to put it in a deck is not optimizing for standard. And this is ranking for standard. Not arena, not wild, not anything else. I only play standard. I play arena, so I could do arena rankings. I don't want to. I like standard the most. So before we get into any cards, the reason I pulled this page up is because I think it's good for us to have some context as to what's going on in standard right now. Okay. So this is a and maybe we can do this to give an idea of like where the star ratings fall. So if you look at these like core cards in the hand buff paladin, which is apparently the highest win rate deck, certainly not in legend, you don't see as much hand buff paladin, but this is a good chance for us to like look at what's going on here. This was printed a long time ago and is only now seeing play. That's a good clue to us that it's a 2-star card. Okay, it didn't make decks viable as soon as it was printed. It only became viable after we saw a number of other cards. Same thing with all of these Festival of Legends cards and this Titan card. This right here is probably a 3-star card. This is absolutely a 3-star card. This is the more obvious 3-star card in the deck. Okay. Flood Paladin. This is a 3-star card, right? Crusader Aura. Crazy card. Mermy might be like a 1-star card. It's like it sees play, but I guess technically by definition this would have to be a 2-star card. It's an unassuming card, but once there are cards that care about flooding, there's nothing else that can quite do what Mermy does. And so even though it doesn't make decks viable on its own, it's going to see play, because it's going to slip into decks that fit this type of archetypes. Yeah, I was wrong. This should be a 2-star card, thinking about it a little bit longer. Sea Giants is like a 3-star card, but like these are old cards. I'm not here to review old cards. I'm just giving you an idea of like where my star rating comes from. So apparently right now, Paladin is good, Hunter is good. More realistically, what I've seen on Ladder and in Legend, I've not played in Legend, but I've watched plenty of Legend play this month, so I have an idea that Combo Druid is pretty popular, though obviously once they took out Splish Splash Whelp, it fell off, but Splish Splash Whelp is coming back. So Combo Druid we know is good. This is a 3-star card in that deck. Marin has kind of been a 3-star card. Chia Drake is a 3-star card. Yogg-Saron is a 3-star card. Swipe is a 2-star card, right? It sees play, but it's not the reason the deck sees play. Whereas these cards are all contributing to why we've built a deck called Combo Druid, is because you can play all of these cards in it, and you're really happy about that. Mining Death Knight has also been huge. Skeleton Crew is like a 3-star card. So that Reap What You Sow is a 3-star card. Honestly, Kobold Miner is a 3-star card, just because like the mining package. Reska is a 3-star card, of course. We already talked about Yogg. Restaurant Viper, it's a 2-star card. It sees play, but it's just like a tech card, you know. Won't always see play. I've been playing Rainbow Mage, which has been doing very well in Diamond, but I'm not in Legend yet, so anyway. This gives us some context of what we're up against, what the meta is right now. Let's get into our card review. Sleep Under the Stars. This seems like a... I'm going to say this seems like a 3-star card. It might not enable... So there are certain deck types that would enable that I think will eventually see play, like combo decks that want to be able to draw 6 cards for 7 mana or something crazy like that. Or 4 cards for 4 mana. Or 2 cards for 1 mana. Those are all possible with this. So just like solid mana gain card. But even if this doesn't enable a specific deck, this is like an unusual slot for a 3-star card where it's like, it feels like it fits into any Druid deck that's viable, and I think there will be viable Druid decks. That's kind of the tricky thing about this rating, is that any class that I don't think will be viable, every single card should realistically be 1-star. So do I think Druid will be viable? Because Druid's viable right now, I think it will be. They're only getting a little bit weaker with the Splish Splash Whelp nerf. And I think this is a 3-star card, not because I think it will enable a Druid deck, though it might, but because I think this card is the reason it sees play and stuff. Sees play in certain decks because it's just that powerful of a card. I'm thinking like the Dredge card, the 0 mana Otter was on the artwork from Sunken City. It's a Druid card. It's like, yeah, that didn't enable any Druid deck specifically, but it was just such a powerful card. It goes in almost every Druid deck. It's kind of a no-brainer. This feels like that. I think this is weaker than that, but I'm still going to give it 3 stars. Bouldering Buddy. Rush Taunt, cost 1 if you have 10 mana crystals. I think this is 1 star. Don't think they're going to put this in their decks. People will try and make it work. I don't think it's that good. New Heights. I think this is 2 stars. I think people will put it in their decks. I don't think it's as good as the people who will be putting it in their decks will think. But I think it is good enough to make the cut in Druid decks that are already filled with good cards. Oh yeah, the Mage Tourist. Right. Tourist. Real quick. Tourist mechanic Hearthstone. I think I understand this mechanic correctly, but I just want to make sure that I understand it correctly. So we're going to go to the wiki and make sure we just understand what's happening. Deck building effect. Tour cards do not allow class cards from outside Perils. Oh, it's okay, I didn't know that. It only lets you put Perils and Paradise cards in the deck. That seems far more balanced and a lot easier to evaluate. The exception is tourist cards from other classes. A class cannot include the tourist card from another class in their deck. Makes sense. When using a tourist card to play Death Knight cards in another class, the player must choose which rune combination to use. Just yeah, okay. Upon playing a card from another class added by the tourist effect, the tourist will appear on the left-hand side of the screen, and history bar to signify to the opponent how that card was in the deck. Makes sense. Okay, yeah, that's straightforward. Tourist mechanic that allows cards with tourists allow the player to put perils from a specific class into their deck during deck building. For example, a paladin card that has the keyword rogue tourist allows the paladin to put rogue cards in their deck. So this allows druid to put mage cards in their deck. So we'll get back to that in just a moment. We kind of have to backtrack on the tourist stuff. 3 mana 1/5 taunt death rattle, draw another taunt minion, reduce its cost by 2. What taunt minions are there that you're going to want to use this for? My instinct is that this is a 1-star. That there's not a deck, like it's powerful, but there's not a deck that's going to want to do this taunt stuff. And I don't think it's a good enough filler card to get 2 stars. Like, if I thought it was a really impressive filler, like Druid might need like a 3-drop 1/5 with taunt. Do I think Druid needs a 3-drop 1/5 with taunt? And so there's like reason to do filler stuff with this extra benefit. And when I think about what the Druid package has, I think the answer is no, they don't need filler. They just want to look for their ramp. So I think this is 1-star, surprisingly. I think that this is a 1-star for this expansion, and one day it'll be more than that. Resurrect, like this effect is always gonna cause people to want to build decks with it. I don't think those decks will be very good, and so I think it's 1-star. I think this is a 1-star card. Some people have compared this to Underload. You pay 2 mana the turn before to enable a card to be played on a future turn. Okay. The problem with that is that this costs you a card. If you could print Underload on a card, you could do that, by the way. You could have a card that says, if you had 2 or more unspent mana crystals last turn, you get blank effect. I guess the card wouldn't technically underload because you could still play it without the effect, but let's just imagine the card is unplayable unless you get the effect on it. That would essentially be an underload card. Okay. It's a pretty high cost because you don't know when you're going to draw the card. So like you have to already have the card in your hand to play. So you can't play it off the top. Like if on turn 6 you draw the card you want to play on turn 8, it doesn't work because you didn't know on turn 5 that you were going to need the 2 extra mana crystals next turn because you didn't have the card in your hand yet. That's true for both if there was literally an underload mechanic or if you were using trail mix. But here's the positive aspect of the underload mechanic. Let's say if let's say the Bronzebeard effect, whatever, the singleton card in Warrior right now, 8 mana 2/4 since it's been nerfed so much. But let's say that was an underload card. Let's say instead of being singleton, it was 8 mana 2/4 if you had 2 unspent mana crystals last turn. Then it gets the effect, right? So essentially you have to float 2 mana the previous turn. And then you can play it on... Oh, but in that world, I guess it would need to be 6 mana. It's like 6 mana 2/4. with this effect. You can play it on 6 only if you spent 2 mana to do nothing on turn 5. So Trail Mix would give you that same option. You would play Trail Mix on turn 5, so then on turn 6 you can play an 8 mana card. I'm getting kind of lost in the sauce here. I think the point is that the fact that this costs an entire card means that it's bad. If you could bundle this onto a card, then I think we might be cooking, but I don't think there's anything that... I don't think we're going to want it. It's a 1-star card. Dozing Dragon. Dormant for 2 turns. While dormant, summon a 3/5 with taunt at the end of your turn. 5 mana for 3 3/5s with taunt. Only the first 2 get taunt, actually. For 2 2/5s with taunt and a 3/5 without taunt. And it's spread over 3 turns. I think that this is a... My instinct is 1-star. If I want to be like safe with my prediction, I could say 2-star. I don't think it's going to enable decks, but I could see Druid being really happy to slot this into like their 5 mana turn. And just like buys them a bunch of time. So on turn 6, they can like make some greedy plays knowing that they're gonna get a 3/5 taunt again from the card they played on the previous turn. I'm just gonna say 1-star. As I'm describing that out loud, I don't think that's what Druid needs or wants. Okay, and that's it for Druid, except for the Tourist. So let's go look at the Mage cards that we could be putting in Druid. But we're going to be evaluating them, I guess, for Mage or Druid. So your first spell each turn costs 2 less. You can get this effect right away. So in that sense, it's like a 1 mana 3/3 that you don't get to play until turn 3. Though I think this is 2 stars. No, so I have to decide if I think Mage is going to be played or not. I think the Rainbow Combo Mage will still be. I don't think Tempo Mage will be. So I think this is a 1-star. Not because it's not powerful, I just don't think the type of Mage deck that you would put it in is going to be powerful enough to be run. Tide Pools. Discover a spell that costs 3 or less. After you cast a spell, reopen this. Three mana to discover up to 3 spells that cost 3 or less. Discovering spells that cost 3 or less doesn't seem very good to me right now. I think this is a 1-star. 1 mana, deal 2 damage randomly split among all enemies, 3 drinks left. So you've got 3 Sea Breeze Chalices, 2 damage randomly split among all enemies. Unless I'm missing something, this is a 1-star. Arcane Missiles. This is like 3 arcane... This is like 2 arcane missiles that costs 3 mana instead of 2 mana. Right, it's 6 missiles total, which... 2 missiles for 1 mana is, I think, just really weak. The benefit of having a card that wraps a bunch of them in one, it's like, great, now you have 3 cards that are too weak in your hand when you draw this, and I don't think that's good. So this is 1-star. Choose a minion. If it's an enemy minion, freeze it. If it's friendly, give it spell damage +1. Choose a minion. If it's an enemy, freeze it. If it's friendly, give it spell damage +1. 1 star. Mage has much better freeze minion effects right now. The 5-drop that gains armor. There's the 1 mana spell that can freeze 3 minions at once for the cost of 3 life. That seems way better than this. The optionality for the spell damage on a friendly minion seems terrible. Paladin Tourist will come back to, so that means we're doing the Paladin class next. Deal 2 damage to all minions. If none die, deal 2 more. Right now, the shape of minions in the game feels like it's rare that this is going to be 4 damage to all minions. And even if it was, I'm not that excited about that effect because it's a reciprocal effect, so your minions would get affected well. So I guess you could try and put this in Control Mage for some board clears, but like, what are you building towards to try and win the game with? The obvious answer would be Rainbow Mage, Sif Mage, right? You're trying to just do the Sif combo, but this doesn't go in that deck because you have the 5 mana board clears that are much more effective. That deck is pretty tight on card draw, sustain, and combo pieces, so I don't think it's just going to like slip a Rising Waves in. This is a 1 star. Draw a different spell, summon a random minion of that spell's cost. Big spell mage then. How many big spells do we like? It doesn't matter. This is 6 mana. 6 mana for a random 8-drop is terrible, and that doesn't seem reliable for Under the Sea, because then you would need to put no small spells in your deck, which means your deck building is bad. This is 1 star. I'm trying to understand the flavor text here. Spacebar. Huh. Tsunami. Summon 3 water elementals that freeze. They attack random enemies. This is a cool card. It reminds me of a card they printed a long time ago. Was it called Deep Freeze? I don't remember what it was called. 8 mana, freeze an enemy, summon 2 water elementals. So this is 1 more water elemental, but you don't get to freeze an enemy. But your water elementals attack immediately, but it's random enemies. I think this is stronger than the card I just referenced, but the card I just referenced I think would be embarrassingly bad in today's Hearthstone, because that card came out like 5 or 6 years ago. Maybe longer ago than that, right? Oh my. It was like 8 years ago. Anyway. I don't remember what set it was. I just know that it was a card I think in meta went back when I was in high school, which was like 8 years ago. So this is better than that card. I think it's pretty weak though. 1 star. The next spell you draw is cast when drawn. That's more support for this package, right? That's insane with Tsunami. I'm gonna give... I have to give this 1 star. I think the card is very powerful. I don't think there's a deck for it right now. I think one day it will be played, but I don't think it's in this upcoming expansion. I'm pausing here because I'm remembering that you could Druid Tourist the Tsunami Surfalipod Under the Sea package and do that with like big taunt minions. It feels like something that would be powerful. Though Surfalipod doesn't really work with the Resurrect 3 highest cost taunt minions because you wouldn't have had enough mana to, like if you play this on 5, I mean, right? You're not going to be able to cheat anything out on 6 with Under the Sea. I think it's still, I'm gonna stick to my guns and say that this package is 1 star. But the Druid Tourism might prove me wrong. And that's it for Mage Tourism. So now, after all that, how do I feel about Druid? I feel that the Druid Tourist, I think, is 1 star. because I don't think the mage cards are playable. There's a bug, sorry. I don't think the mage cards are playable, so I think Mista Vista is not good enough on his own. I think people will try to play this, and I think it'll be low win rate and maybe very fun. But I'm going to count that as 1 star, because seeing play just because it's fun is not really what I'm trying to capture with this star rating. Okay, now Mage wants us to look at the Paladin cards. So we'll evaluate this once we look at the Paladin cards, but just so we get a sense of what this does. After you cast a spell, summon a random 2-cost minion and give it Divine Shield. 4 mana, 2/5. Okay, Paladin. At the end of your turn, get a 1-cost sunscreen that gives +1/+2. Return. Get a 1-cost sunscreen. This seems terrible. And pointless. This should be like one of the drink cards, where it's like 1 mana, sunscreen. Give a minion +1/+2. There are 3 drinks there, so you can it's like Barrel of Monkeys. You can play 3 of them once you draw 1 of them. But instead, they made it have more steps. You have to play Life-Saving Aura, and then add these cards to your hand slowly over the next 3 turns. They take up more hand space. You don't get them all at once. 1 star. Also, 1 mana, give a minion +1/+2 is like a 1-star card, so if it was give a minion +2/+2, then it starts to get more interesting. But as it is, I'm going to say nah. Oh, well, here's the drink card for Paladin. Give a character Divine Shield. If it already has one, give it +1 attack this turn. That's painfully weak. Though giving a minion Divine Shield for 1 is not terrible. I don't think it's what Paladin wants to do, though. I think this is 1 star. After this minion gains attack, reduce the cost of the highest cost card in your hand by 1. One star. Summon 3 5/5 pirates. Cost 1 less for each spell you've cast on. Oh. Well, now there's a much stronger reason to run Life-Saving Aura and Divine Brew. So you can get some 5/5s in a big bundle. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this isn't a good enough package to compete with Hand Buff Paladin. 1 star. Draw your lowest cost card, draw your highest cost card. This seems like 3 stars. I don't know what deck it is, though. You could just put it in Hand Buff Paladin, though. 4 mana, 3/4 draw 2 cards is, I think, good. But the fact that it tutors specific cards makes me feel like it's gonna see play. Because I don't... I'm gonna give this 3 stars. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is 3 stars. Which means I think there's going to be some... I guess this might be 3 stars for the same reason that one Druid card is 3 stars, is that you'll slot this into a lot of different types of Paladin decks. But there's also a really good chance that enables a specific type of Paladin deck that makes it, that is competitive. The next spell you cast has Lifesteal, 4 mana, 2/7 Taunt. So do I think Control Paladin is a thing? How does it win the game? That's the hard part. I don't know how it wins the game. I don't think Paladin has enough removal to grind out, and then you would rather just play like Control Warrior, who has the TNT package, Reno package, not Reno, but yes, it has Reno, but I'm thinking of the Double Your Battle Cries package. It's just better to play that if you're going to play a slow deck, because Control Paladin I don't think has obviously phenomenal tools to be a control deck, and it doesn't have an obviously phenomenal win rate. So I think this is 1 star because Control Paladin won't be a thing. Deal 4 damage, give a random friendly minion +4/+4. 1 star. 5 mana, 3/8. Ah, yes, the location. Give a friendly minion +3 attack and rush. Turn back into a minion. Really cool card. Really hard to think about. Probably... Well, would you put this in hand buff? No, because it's too hard to get it to grow face. I think this is 1 star. I think the turning into a location is too inhibiting. Warrior had a similar... Oh, wait a minute. No. I'm wrong. The hand buff does affect this. If the attack, as the attack on this minion gets larger, the attack buff on the location gets larger. And so for this reason, this is a 3-star card, because it goes in hand buff paladin. Because if you give this card +4/+4, you have a 7/12. It attacks into a big minion, clears an opponent's card, gives you a location that now allows you to give 7 attack to a minion you already have on the board. That pushes 7 extra damage face that turn. Turns back into a 7 X amount of health, depending on how much damage you took when you cleared the minion that this attacked into. And then you likely don't attack into anything at this point, so you can hit face with this on the following turn, rather than turn it into a close location. Gets a little bit weird after that, but I think that's powerful enough that we're going to give this 3 stars. Marooned Archmage. And we're back to the mage. So, that's what Paladin's doing. My instinct on Paladin is that the cards were not good enough to service any of the packages they printed. Sea Shanty is like this self-buff package. Don't think it's good enough. And then Lifeguard is like a control package, and I don't think that's good enough. So, the only other thing they got... Wait, no, why did this go to the mage card? What about Volleyball? What the heck is this card order? Okay, this is getting weird, but sorry. The arrow keys are not doing what I want them to, so let's finish evaluating Paladin, and then I'll say what I say about Paladin and Mage and the tourism deal. Volleyball, 3 mana, 3/2 weapon. After your attacks, get 1 cost sunscreen that gives +1/+2. 1 star. For the same reason Life-Saving R was 1 star. Okay. Sun Sapper Linessa. We'll have to evaluate this later, but just a little preview. 5 mana, 2/6 spells that cost 2 or less, cast twice. Okay, so Paladin is gonna maybe add, well, I'm saying it's going to add the location to hand buff Paladin. Nothing else was good. Do any of these packages work in Mage? With the Paladin Tourist, after you cast a spell, summon a random 2-cost minion, give it Divine Shield. I think the answer is no. You're absolutely not going to put this Tourist in your Mage deck, so you can add any of these weird cards to your Mage. So this is a 1 star. Now let's talk about Rogue. Snatch and Grab. Okay, at least it looks like the order on this is correct. Destroy 2 random enemy minions. Cost 1 less each card. This is 3 stars. Giving Rogue premium removal is just always going to be effective for that class. The weakness in Rogue was supposed to be that, you know, if I'm Druid and I just ramp into huge taunt minions and get in the way of Rogue, they're out of luck. And this is saying, no, we just have this extra card now that Rogue can play in a deck and deal with your garbage. Obviously it's too expensive, so you do need to be able to get the discount here, but isn't the Rogue deck that sees play right now it's kind of interesting, right? So, like, where's Rogue? Mining Rogue is a 47% win rate, so are any cards in that deck a 3-star card? The answer would have to be no. But this is misleading. I think people play Mining Rogue with higher win rates than this in Legend. If you've watched any of Pocket Train's stream, he plays Rogue with a positive win rate. Really, the kid would be a 3-star card then. So oh, but is the other so the reason I brought this up because I was asking myself, is the other class package in Rogue good enough? And I guess it's not, right? Test Rogue is not good enough right now. Yikes, so this is like 2 stars then. Or does this enable other class Rogue? I think it's that powerful of effect. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say Test Rogue is gonna make a comeback with a card that destroys 2 random enemy minions like this. Rogue is gonna be all over that. 3 stars. Oh, by the way, your spells that cost 2 or less cast twice. So you could get this to cost 2 or less to put it in your Paladin deck. Unfortunately, oh, wait a minute. With the tourism thing makes this way easier to do too, of course. I forgot about that. Okay, this is super 3 stars. Does it go in Paladin? I think maybe it does. That's kind of cool, actually. That's gonna make this like a 3, maybe a 2-star card, because some Paladins hand buff for a control Paladin. I don't think control Paladin will be good. They'll say a hand buff Paladin list is out there. No, there's no way. This wouldn't go in hand buff Paladin. Okay. So this card is awesome. It's tempting to put it in Paladin, but whatever Paladin deck you would put it in would not be a good Paladin deck. So unfortunately, and this would be a powerful package in a bad deck. So unfortunately, it's going to be 1 star. But this is going to go in Rogue, and Rogue's going to use their Warlock Tourist to activate this maybe. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. Conniving Con Man. Replay the last card you've played from another class. Three stars. I think this package is going to be good. The next card you play from a non-rogue class costs 2 less. Next card you play from a non-rogue class costs 2 less. Hard for me to say. It's hard to know without looking at all the Warlock cards, but my instinct is that this will be cuttable. 2 stars. Some people put it in the other class rogue deck. I think the stats will show that eventually it's actually not worth it to be in there. Legendary. Go on a side quest to discover amazing loot. Play 3 cards from other classes to complete it. What the heck? Okay, this is impossible for me to evaluate. I don't understand. So you have some treasures in here. You also have Blade of Keldalar twice? Why? Hilt of Keldalar. Beautiful beasts. Side quest. Play 3. Discover 2 amazing pieces of loot. Most of these are good. Why is a Noyotron here? Oh, because fill your board with annoying minions. This is such a roundabout. Yeah, the same. That's the same reason Psychotron is here. Psychotron, a Noyotron, a Noyo module. A Noyotron from Goblins versus Gnomes versus Noyotron. This is a crap fest of informative user interface, but now that I understand, you get to discover basically 2 treasures, and you get stuff like crusty gnomish army knife, canopic jars, Book of the Dead, Wax Rager. This is a 3-star card. 100%. Okay. Swarthy. It gives you a win condition. This is insane. I was saying that this was going to be a viable deck even before I looked at this. This is a card that like makes that package viable. This is 3 stars. Swarthy Sword Shiner. Set the attack and durability of your weapon to 3. 1 star. That's terrible. Metal Detector. After your hero attacks and kills a minion, get a coin. 1 star. Pretty weak. Draw a card. You have to kill the minion? Yeah, it's terrible. 1 star. Draw a card. If you play it this turn, reopen this. Two star. Some people are going to use this as your card draw package in Rogue. It's gonna go in some decks, but it's not gonna be the reason those decks are powerful. 2 stars. Do 2 damage, get a coin. 1 star. I think there's a coin synergy out there, but I'm not gonna be worried about tracking it down to see if it's good enough. I think it's bad. We'll come back to the tourist later. Now we need to look at, well, one more since it didn't show this to me when I hit the arrow. Get 2 random 1-cost spells from other classes. I think this is the worst way to try and enable the other class package. I'm not totally sure what the other class package options are besides the tourism effect, but I'm gonna trust that they're good enough that you won't run party theft. If I did a more thorough analysis, I could go through it and maybe come to the conclusion that this is 2 stars just because it's gonna enable cards that are powerful. But it itself is just kind of like a necessary weak card to put in the deck. But I think it's a weak card. I think it's going to be 1 star, unless for some reason this is absolutely necessary to make the other package that I called 3 stars viable. So let's call it 1 star, 1 star. Okay. I guess I can evaluate this now. I think this is going to be 3 stars, because I think this is going to go in the other class package, just to give you an easy way to do all these other class synergies. It'll depend on what the Warlock set looks like, but... Oh, also discover a hero card from the past is already insane. Jeez Louise, they gave Rogue some love this expansion. Rogue is a 3-star class. Paladin, Druid, and Mage are 1-star classes. No, I'm sorry. Paladin, I think, is going to be a good class. I think the hand buff Paladin is still going to be strong, since it was... apparently, like, I mean, look at what Paladin's doing right now. None of that's going to be less strong, I don't think. Although, yeah, I know HS Replay gives, if you don't look at certain metas, like, this stuff falls off a lot in Legend, so take that for what you will. But if it has a 60% win rate across all ranks, even if it's supposedly bad in Legend, like, that still counts as being, like, a 3-star class. Okay, Warlock. This is interesting. I'm looking at this health drink. Sorry, there's a little bug flying around. This, I think, is like 2 stars. I think it's a decent card. I think it's gonna be 2 or maybe 3 stars, but I'm gonna say comfortably 2 stars in Rogue. Because you're gonna want to put cards from other classes in your deck to enable your other class stuff. This is 3 cards right here from Warlock, with just 1 slot in your deck. That's already really nice. It's a nice little utility aspect to Health Drink. But the other element is that Rogue has no way to heal. Now it does. Boom, right here. Very powerful. But I'm going to say... so should I say 3 stars? Sure, why not? 3 stars. It's going to go in the Rogue deck. Terrible. 1 star, but it's a meme. People will play this because it's fun. I would like to play it if I can pull it off. Death Knight Tourist will have to come back to this, but the effect seems potentially powerful. I'm not hopeful, though. Destroy a friendly minion to draw 3 cards. 2 mana for 3 cards? What the heck? This bug is going crazy. 2 mana for 3 cards is like good, but I think about the impending catastrophe, 2 mana that was like draw cards, repeat for every imp you have, so it was like 2 mana, draw 5 a lot of the time. Obviously that was insane, but the fact that you have to destroy a minion for this, I don't think it's that good. I think Warlock isn't that desperate for ways to draw cards. So I'm gonna say 1 star. It's a little bit bold. Card draw cards are rarely 1 star, but I don't think this goes in the Rogue deck, and Warlock is like not playable at all right now. I guess Pain Warlock? What is Pain Warlock doing for card draw? Mass production? That just seems better to me. Seems way better. I mean, it works with Pain Warlock. Sludge Warlock? I've played some of Sludge Warlock. It was a fun deck. Apparently it's tier 2. What did it do for card draw? Furnace Fuel? This is probably better than Eat the Imp in Sludge Warlock as well. Yeah, I don't think Warlock is looking for better ways to draw cards. I don't think this is a great way to draw cards. 1 star. If I looked at this card and it kind of excited me. If this had Taunt, I think it might actually be 3 stars. But because it doesn't have Taunt, but the Imp it summons does, I think it's going to be too hard to get to work. It's just going to be a 3 mana 1/6 too often, and that's a 1 star card. Cursed Souvenir. Give a minion +3/+3, and at the start of your turn, deal 3 damage to your hero. My instinct is that this is 1 star. But there's some hilarity in the fact that you can put this on an enemy minion and force them to start damaging themselves. But I don't think that's going to be a thing. And I don't think buffing your own minion is going to be that. Maybe it goes in Pain Lock. Maybe it goes in Pain Lock. It's at the start of your turn. I'm going to go out on a limb and say 1 star. 1 star. Fellfire Bonfire. If it dies, 1 star. The Ouroboros World Serpent does have Taunt, so I can see this going in Pain Warlock. No, because the Treant doesn't count. It spends health, you don't take the damage. I'm gonna say 1 star. 3 stars. This seems like a shoe-in for Pain Warlock. Or for Rogue. I could see you putting this in Rogue just because you need more class cards for your tourism. That was not very exciting. So maybe the Rogue deal is not as good as I thought because touristing into Warlock is not extremely useful. I think it's good enough. I'm going to stick with my rating so far. The Rogue stuff is going to be good. They're going to put Health Drink and Party Fiend, maybe, in their deck. And maybe that's it. It's kind of funny. Okay, maybe I went through this really fast. I was not convinced that this is gonna be good, but like with Rogue, you equip a weapon, you attack into something, you play this. It's a 5/5, 2-mana 5/5. I think this is 2 stars. If it goes in a deck, it's just because you're trying to flesh out a package like the other class package in Rogue, but it might not go in a deck. Okay, and then Death Knight is next. So, oh, by the way, normally we would go back and then decide whether or not this was a 3-star card, but I said it was a 3-star card no matter what the... Not this one, this one. This is a 3-star card no matter what the Warlock cards are, and I stand by that. The Warlock cards were good enough. Let's go to Death Knight. Horizon's Edge. Deal 3 damage, randomly split among all enemies. After a friendly minion dies, reopen this. This is 15 damage. This is 3 stars. This goes in Rainbow Death Knight. It's a very cool card. Freeze a character, draw a card for each frozen character. 1 star, because 2 Frost Runes is not going to be good. Cost 1 if a character is frozen. 1 star. Death Knight is not going to play 1 mana 4/4 that can't come down until who knows which turn that you'll be able to freeze a minion. Freeze 3 random enemies. Any that were already frozen take 5 damage instead. 1 star. 3 mana 2/2 is terrible stats. The effect is weird, but probably bad. 2-4. Whenever you play a Death Rattle minion, give it Reborn. 3 stars. This seems awesome. It works with Reska. Is that all it works with? Maybe it's just 1 star. You know, this is 1 star. I toyed around with Mosh Pit. I played a lot of Death Knight trying to get the Mosh Pit to work to give Death Rattle minions Reborn, and it's like, oh, it's so powerful because, like, you, yeah, this is just worse than Mosh Pit, because Mosh Pit you get to spend the 2 mana for ahead of time. Yeah, this is 1 star. You have to spend corpses for Mosh Pit, but that doesn't matter as much as being able to set up the Mosh Pit on turn 2, 3, or 4, and then on turn 5 you play your Marionette Gal, the 5 mana 2/6 Death Rattle buff your undead in your hand by +2/+2. It's also a miniaturized card. Giving that Reborn is great. Using Brittlebone Buccaneer to give that Reborn is so much worse than using Mosh Pit to give it Reborn. 1 star. Summon 5 1/1 ghouls that attack random enemies. The ghouls, I assume, die at the end of the... No, they don't. Oh my gosh. They don't die at the end of the turn? This is 3 stars. This is 5 corpses that, if you're playing a tempo deck and you have board control, it's 5/5 of stats that deals 5 damage to the enemy hero for 4 mana that gives you 5 corpses. This is absurd. Awesome. 5 stars. I'm sorry, 3 stars. We're not doing a 5-star rating. Summon a 1/1 Dreadhound with Reborn. Same reason as before. This is just a lot. This is like 4/4 in stats. That gives you 3 corpses for 2 mana. This is going to be your corpse generator along with mining casualties. Those are going to be the 2/2 drops you play in whatever, pretty much in whatever demon Death Knight deck you want. Rainbow Death Knight, probably not hand buff Death Knight, I guess, but Tempo Death Knight, if that's a thing. I guess that it's not, so it's just going to be Rainbow Death Knight. Maybe Plague Death Knight. Yeah, I could see it in Plague Death Knight. This goes in Plague Death Knight. Mining casualties are, yeah, awesome. 3 stars. For the rest of the game, your minions have +1 attack. This is fun. I could see people trying to build a Death Rattle Death Knight that tries to reborn this. Spread, there's the Death's Growl, you know, spread this Death Rattle to 2 adjacent minions. I think it'll see play in Rainbow Death Knight. Just making your hero power deal 2 or 3 damage can just let you grind out your opponent. It's not a terrible stat line. Just drop it on 4. It's like a hell yeah. And that's not quite it. It's just doing the thing where once you get to the legendary, it like skips letting you see the last 2 cards. Corpsicle, deal 3 damage, spend 3 corpses to return this to your hand at the end of your turn. Three stars. Seems like a really solid corpse spender. Maybe it goes in rainbow. If you want to do like necrotic explosion thing and have a way to spend corpses. No, I've changed my mind. 2 mana for 3 damage is worse than you'd rather play Frost Strike than this. You'd rather spend the corpses on Mosh Pit. Not that Mosh Pit is in the Rainbow Death Knight right now. Rainbow Death Knight doesn't really spend their corpses right now, but there's the weapon. Yeah, you could spend corpses on the weapon. There can be better ways to spend your corpses. This gives it back to you at the end of your turn. If it was immediately, I was thinking maybe there's a way to like have a bunch of damage, but it returns to your hand at the end of the turn. I think this is 1 star. And buttons. Shaman Tourist. Draw a spell of each spell school. So this lets you put Shaman cards into Death Knight. Remains to be seen if that's good. However, 5 mana, 5/5 draw a handful of cards seems good. Who knows? Okay, Death Knight seems like a 3-star class. Is Warlock gonna put any of these in their deck? Yeah, I could see a... It's just... Eliza is so much worse in Warlock than Death Knight because of the hero power. But I could see like a Zoo Warlock wanting to give your minions +1 attack for the rest, or you know, plus multiple attack for the rest of the game since Summoner. Dark Marrow. You know, I think since this has to be alive to get the effect and it's a 4/4, there might be some crazy combos it enables, but as far as I can tell, this is a 1-star Warlock card, and their Warlock is not going to be very strong. Pain Warlock might still be a thing. Rogue will probably tourist into a handful of these cards that I already pointed out. But Warlock will not be good. Death Knight will only be the same good Death Knight that it was before. This weird Frost thing's not going to be a combo. The Death Rattle stuff will only be good to the extent that it fits in Rainbow Death Knight or maybe Plague Death Knight. Oh hey Calvin, I don't know how long ago you joined. I got lost in the sauce. Yeah, we're reviewing the upcoming expansion for Hearthstone. That's what we're doing today. And we're on to Shaman, who can tourist into the Death Knight class. Maybe they will. We'll see. Matching outfits. This is funny. On Wednesdays we wear pink. Just an overt quotation from Mean Girls. Transform minion to a random one that costs one more than summon a copy of it. My instinct is 1 star. This is pretty expensive. But the higher cost minion you get to use this on, the better it is. I think the reason transform effects have traditionally been good in the past is for a couple of reasons. Either one, you can cheat out a high cost minion and just transform it into a giant. Early on. And those were cheap transform effects, right? It necessarily needed to be a cheap transform effect, like the location. So I think that this doesn't work with that because this is so expensive. So it's hard to combo it with stuff you've cheated out. That's pretty much the only way that, or like mass transform effects have been the other way that transform effects have been playable in Shaman, and this is neither, so this is 1 star. Meltamental. Taunt, this is permanently frozen. Shaman's like unplayable, by the way, right now. I guess, no, Evolve Shaman apparently is, what the heck? What? They run Ancient Totem? How have I never seen this deck? I'm skeptical that this is real. I think HS Replay is lying to us, folks. Pop-up book. Gigantify. Summon a tiny thing with Rush. And stats equal to this minions. Ziliax. Titan. Give a minion +2/+3 if it has a minion type. Draw one of that type. I've never seen this in any of the Hearthstone I've watched this month or any of the Hearthstone I've played this month. None of these seem that good. How is this Evolve Shaman? Just transform all minions into random legendary ones from the past. Draw 2 spells that cost 5 or more, transform into the slimes. This seems terrible. I think that this is a lie from HS Replay. So I think Shaman is going to continue to be a 1 star class, which means Meltamental doesn't go in anything. It's a really cool card, though. I think it'll go in a Shaman deck one day, but not this expansion, so this is 1 star. Oh, I could see you putting this in Death Knight with the Death Knight tourism. That's pretty cool, actually. I don't know if there's room for it, though. I'm going to stick with 1 star. Get a random Naga and a 1 star. I saw this earlier. It's a joke. Demon Hunter Tourist will have to evaluate this later, but just so we get a little preview. After friendly minion dies, summon a random minion that costs 1 more. It's hilarious, actually. I'm hopeful. No, but Shaman is bad, right? Yeah. Summon a random 5-cost minion. Repeat for each spell cool you cast this game. So Spell School Shaman might be a thing. Summon 2/2/4 elementals with taunt and death rattle, gain 4 armor. I saw someone review this and say it was best card in the deck, 3, you know, whatever their rating was, or best card in the set. I mean, I'm not convinced. They were saying because it curves with the 4 mana thing that turns spells into slimes. I'm not convinced. 1 star. I do like this. Could it be Spell School Shaman as a thing? Random 5-cost minions aren't that good. I think that this is 1 star. I think the Spell School Dream for Shaman isn't good enough. Draw 2 cards, deal 6 damage to the enemy hero. Draw 2 cards, freeze 3 enemy minions. I think this is 1 star. This again, I was watching someone review this, and the difficulty of infusing this, 5 mana, 5/5, have to hold it in your hand. We got a couple more still. Kabare, Headliner, reduce the cost of a spell of each school in your hand by 2. Okay, I mean, that's more support for this package. Maybe it is a real thing. Spell of each school in your hand by 2. I'm gonna stick to my guns and say 1 star, but they're really trying to prove me wrong. They've got the mana cheat, the refill, the value generator. 1 star. Okay, Shaman's not very good. So for Death Knight, we're not going to play buttons. 1 star. Demon Hunter. Cliff Dive. Summon 2 minions from your deck and give them rush. They go back at the end of your turn. Unless there's something crazy to combo with this has got to be 1 star. Maybe one day it'll be really good when you have some huge death rattle implication minion. I wonder how it works with Magtheridon, but my instinct is 1 star. I saw this earlier, 1 star. This is so bad. It doesn't have rush. So when you play it, it's just 7 mana, 5/8. Awful. Choose a minion. This turn, your hero steals 4 attack from it. Hard to say. I don't know if this is good or not. My instinct is that it is not. By the way, is Death Knight or is Demon Hunter even played right now? There's a Shopper Demon Hunter. This would not go in that, I don't think, even a little bit. Oh, this deck is not what I thought it was. This is a weird, just like tempo Demon Hunter. Yeah, this is the Ziliax that just tries to. I've lost to this just because they play the Ziliax guy. I had them play it to me on turn 2 or something crazy. They did like Frequency Oscillator, and then turn 2 they coined this, yeah. And I was just done. So this is like an aggro tempo, some attack. And then like Widow Shopper for the I think the 8/8 with rush that attacks when you attack. It becomes a 6/5 that attacks when you attack for 5 mana, which is quite good. So that's good to have in the back of our mind when evaluating these cards. I don't think this goes in that deck. This is a 1-star card. Is there anything else Demon Hunter's doing, by the way? That's the tier 2 deck. And then there's no more Demon Hunter. Okay. Didn't think so. Priest Tourist, we'll have to evaluate this later, but in a sense, damage your hero takes on your turns were directed to a random enemy. Oh. Weird. That could be really good. It could be really good. I'm gonna wait to evaluate it. Doesn't lose durability while you control minion with 5 or more attack. 1-star, 6 mana for a 5 attack weapon with like 5 durability might even be too slow. This only has 2 durability. Sometimes you can add more to it. but 6 mana is a lot for a weapon. Have there ever been 6 mana or more weapons that were playable? Hard to say. Anyway, at the start of your next turn, summon 3 1/1 pirates with charge. 1 star, 2 mana for 3 1/1s. I think would not be good enough. Maybe it would. Especially because you get to save them so they can't be removed. You know what? I'm gonna say that this is a 2-star card. It's not gonna enable any decks, but you might just slip it into decks that are good. And I think Demon Hunter will have some decks that are like kinda good. Summon 2 1/1 pirates with charge after your hero attacks. Reopen this. It's a total of 6 1/1 pirates with charge. It's quite a bit slower than the 2-cost card. One star. Demon Hunter has lots of other good card draw stuff right now, I think. After friendly pirate attacks, give your hero +1 attack this turn. Okay, so here's like there's like the pirate attacking stuff, and then we have patches. Shuffle 6 parachutes into your deck. Summon 1/1 pirate with charge when drawn. This is touristing in the witch class. We could put any of these cards into shaman. After friendly minion dies, some random minion with it costs 1 more. Yeah, it's like a synergy, right? Is that going to be the shaman deck that prevails? The 1/1 pirate charge shaman deck with cookie? No. It's going to be a 1-star package. Okay, priests, which means cookie's a 1-star, and most of these cards are 1-stars. Okay, priest, Chillin Vol'jin. Oh, this is the tourist card. So we'll evaluate it later, but just our little preview. Choose 2 minions, swap their stats. I could see that being good. By the way, what is priest doing right now? Zarimi priest, so yeah, there's like the dragon take an extra turn priest. Pretty poor. I've played against it, and decks that are embarrassingly bad against flood decks lose to it, and decks that equip themselves with Reason Laugh tools to deal with most stuff in the meta don't bat an eye against this deck. There's also Highlander Priest. Really annoying to play against. They'll probably still be around. So it's pretty easy for any of these to slot into a Highlander Priest. Like, you can just put this in the Highlander Priest, no problem. Sana regular. She's getting that falls off the bone tenderness. Interesting. Cost 1 less for each time your tier is taking damage on your turn. Is that going to be easy to do? If not, it's a 1-star. Probably might be 1-star anyway. Brain Masseuse. Whenever this minion takes damage, also deal that amount to your hero. Seems terrible. Well, I don't think people care about 1 mana 2/4s in the meta right now. Hot Coals. Deal 2 damage to all enemies. If your hero took damage this turn, deal 1 more. 1-star. Deal 4 damage to both heroes. 1-star. Deal 3 damage to a minion, deal 2 damage to your hero. 3 drinks left. 1-star. I don't believe in the self-damage priest package. Summon a copy of an enemy minion. If you have 20 or less health, destroy the original. 1-star. Rest in peace. Each player summons their highest cost minion that died this game. 1 star? Priest doesn't have anything that clearly is OP to resurrect. And you can just run into a Death Knight who gets a Reska. Set the cost of the top card of your deck to 1. 2 stars, it might just slip into Highlander. Same thing with this, 2 stars. Just because it might slip into Highlander, and it happens to synergize with the other card I gave 2 stars. Okay, so my instinct, and this is also 2 stars, and this one which I wasn't sure about, now that I've seen the self-damage package, I think it sucks. 1 star. Are we going to put Hunter cards in here? Let's find out. This might be a 3-star card. You might just swap it and just, like, slot it into Highlander Priest. Chatty Macaw, repeat the last spell you cast at an enemy. The last spell you cast at an enemy, at a random enemy, if possible. I can't think of any Hunter spells that you're casting at enemies. Your next Battlecry minion costs 1 less after you play Battlecry minion. Reopen this. Not sure. I'll come back to that. Choose an enemy. Summon 2 3/2 birds with immune while attacking to attack it. One star? Seems weak for 6 mana. Destroy an enemy minion. Deals damage equal 1 star. I don't think Hunter's going to want to try and do a control thing, and this is a control thing. No, I'm sorry. Randomly split among all enemies. I was thinking it was going to be destroy an enemy minion and deal damage equal to its attack to all enemy minions, but if they have an 8/8 and nothing else on board, you can just death roll and deal 8 damage to the enemy hero. 2 stars. I'm not convinced it's going to... Well, let's remind ourselves that Hunter is good right now. Hunter is good. Secret Hunter, specifically. This is not good in Secret Hunter. Spell Token Hunter, which I've played some of, and this is not good in that deck either. Highlander Hunter, which I think is a joke. So, 1 star. I've changed my mind. Sasquatch. Repeat each card you played last turn. 1 star. Ranger Gilly. Warrior Tourist, we'll have to reevaluate it later, but just a little look. 6 mana, 4/6. At the end of your turn, get a 2/3 Crocolisk. It says get, so I assume that goes into your hand, otherwise it would say summon. But maybe they didn't have enough text. Because it's a hand... This is terrible. So bad. 1 star. 6 mana, 4/6. Not even close to playable. 1 mana, 3/3 rush. Summon a 2/1 for your opponent. 1 star. I think we'd rather just play the snake guys on 1. Or what else do we play on 1 in Hunter these days? I mean, you could see right here the 1 drops in spell token. You've got oh yeah, Awakening Tremors, Thorn Mantle Musician, Vicious Slither Spear. Plenty of options. You're not going to put this questionable 1 drop in there. Catch of the day. Okay, Pet Parrot. Repeat the last 1 cost card you played. One star. Super weak. Could be a 2/2, and then it might see play. Trusty Fishing Rod. Summon a 1 cost minion from your deck. 3 energy. It works with the Catch of the Day, which is fun flavor. I think it's a 1 star. Discover a minion from your deck. Give all copies of it +2/+1 wherever they are. 1 star. Reminds me a lot of the Priest card that's like, choose a minion, add a copy of it to your hand. Finale, give both copies +1/+2. 2 mana to just like add a card to your hand with some minor tweak feels like it's not good enough in Hearthstone right now. Okay, and that's it. Hunter seems like it'll be a 2-star class, a tier 2 class that mostly does what it did before. Maybe it will... No, I didn't rate any of these well. No, I don't think it'll do anything. So Chill and Vol'jin probably doesn't see play. Okay. Warrior. Cupo, Muscle. Give a minion in your hand +2/+1. 3 drinks left. I'm not sure if hand buff will be a thing. Hand buff warrior hasn't been a thing for a while, right? But there used to be a reason to do it. You used to have Grom, and the weapon was a good reason to do hand buff stuff. Is Grom even in the game right now? I don't even know. People don't play it, which makes me feel like it's not. So I feel like hand buff warrior is not good. By the way, what is warrior doing right now? Warrior is apparently chilling at the... Oh, we got control warrior, right? And Highlander warrior. Yeah, those are the ones I've seen the most often, and they're okay. But they don't want hand buff stuff, so I think Cup of Muscle is a 1-star. Deal 7 damage to a minion, give a minion in your hand, stats equal to the excess damage. 2 stars, you might just slot it into Highlander, because that's how Highlander works. Taunt, when you draw this, get a copy of it. It feels like there's a combo here, but I don't think there is. I think this is 1-star. Draw 3 minions of different types. I don't know how many minions of different types you run in Highlander Warrior. Let's take a look at... No, I want to look at the deck list. How many of these minions have types? Totem, Rust-Rot Viper, Steam Guardian. Almost none. Okay. And none of the important ones can be tutored out because they don't have types. Zilliax, I guess, but I'm going to say this is 1-star. Menagerie Warrior is not a thing, and it won't be a thing. Destroy an enemy minion with attack less than or equal to this minion's. 1-star. Hand buff is not going to be a thing. At the end of your turn, summon an elemental with stats equal to this minion's. This one has taunt. I think this is 1-star. It's just a pile of stats that invites your opponent to need to kill it, but most people can kill something that pops down on turn 9. Summon a 0/6 entree for your opponent. When it dies, summon a minion from your deck. Summon minion from your deck. Warrior might be good. Then Monstrosity gets better. But it doesn't work in Highlander Warrior. We could look at the Control Warrior list, see if that's a thing, but my instinct is that the answer is no. There's nothing you can cheat out summoning from your deck that's going to help you win the game, let alone do it reliably enough with Food Fight. This is 1-star. Rush, elusive, can only take 1 damage at a time. Cool card. Maybe 2 stars, it just slots into Highlander Warrior. Maybe not. Druid Tourist we'll have to look at later. And then the worst card that they printed in the set The Recycleaver, 7 mana 4/2 weapon. Really, really, really bad. The 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 sandwich summons minions in between them. There's no reliable way to get minions that you want to, I would say, cheat out, except you can't even do this until turn 8 because this is a freaking 7 mana weapon. So this is terrible. But even if this were a cheaper weapon, then there is some theory that you're cheating out minions earlier than you're supposed to have them out. Or for potentially less mana than you're supposed to be playing them. Because right now this is like a 9 mana combo. It's like you can just play minions for 9 mana if they're that good. But then the other problem is, like, how are you going to get these minions into the sandwich? You have to draw them after you play the Recycleaver and before you use the second attack of the Recycleaver. Really, 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 really bad. One of the worst cards I've seen in a long time. Okay, how good is this going to be at the end of your turn, you minion in the enemy's deck? It's a tech card, right? This goes into Highlander just because it's like a disruption card. 2 stars. Even if Druid doesn't tourist into Warrior, which I doubt it will, now that we've come full circle. I could see Warrior putting Sleep Under the Stars in their Highlander deck just because this is a good card. Oh yeah, sorry. I didn't evaluate that. Once I got to Trail Mix, no, once I got to Dozing Dragon and hit next, it skips these last couple. I didn't review these 2 Druid cards. I think this is bad, and I think that this is... Oh, not this one. This one. Discover top menu after you gain armor, reopen this. I think this is bad. So 1 star, 1 star. I don't think any of the evaluations of these change now that I know you can slot them into Warrior, because I don't think Warrior is that good, but maybe Highlander Warrior will like take a Sleep Under the Stars or Dozing Dragon. I could see that. Maybe there's a Taunt Warrior Tortolan Traveler thing, actually. That might be cool with Monstrosity. What's with the food theme for Warrior? Weird. These are not impressive. So the most impressive class, the biggest new deck that we're going to see is going to be Rogue. Death Knight was decent, but I don't know if Death Knight's going to create a whole new deck. Where is Rogue? Here's Rogue. This is going to be the biggest shakeup to the meta. Look, Calvin, they're all bad. I don't know what to tell you. They printed 10 classes worth of 1-star cards and 1 class worth of 3-star cards. It's not exactly that simple. I think Death Knight had some playable stuff in there. And I didn't think Paladin got any better, though, being one of the best classes in the game right now. And I don't think that Hunter got any better, being one of the best classes in the game right now, according to these stats. According to what I've seen on ladder, the best classes in the game are actually Death Knight, and I think Death Knight gets better. So I think Death Knight will continue to be one of the best classes in the game. And other stuff I've seen people playing in Legendary or in Legend, Death Knight and Druid. I don't think Druid got that much better. So we'll see. Druid might disappear a little bit more than it already has started to disappear. What else am I seeing a lot of? Alright, there's the OTK mage that I've been playing and I've watched other people play. I don't think that got much better. Although Rogue being good probably makes OTK mage better, because I think it's very good against Rogue, so who knows? So the what else have I seen people play? I mean, I was watching No Hands Gamer stream. We can just look and see what he's streaming right now. I know he's streaming Death Knight. Who's he playing against? He's playing against a Demon Hunter. Apparently. Now he's playing against a Warlock? What kind of Warlock is he playing against? A Pain Warlock. So I think Pain Warlock will still be okay, actually. I kind of mentioned that. I don't think most of this package is good, but I think it'll put Party Fiend in. Maybe Curse Souvenir, maybe Fearless Flame Juggler. I think Pain Warlock might still be around, but it's not going to take a ton of these new cards. And then, yeah, there's the neutral stuff to look at. We're an hour and a half in. Let's quickly look at the neutral stuff. Incendious. 6 mana, 2/10. At the start of your turn, upgrade your eruptions. Battlecry, shuffle 5 eruptions into your deck. Doesn't tell me what the oh yeah, it does. Here we go. Cast when drawn. Deal 1 damage to all enemies. End of your turn, upgrade your eruptions. This is a great card. This is going to see play. This is like a little bit of an inevitability package people are going to put into like their control Highlander decks. This is an awesome card. 2/10. It's not easy to kill. Eruptions don't need to be very good for this to be worth it. They're going to be 2 damage already, but maybe if they get to 3 damage, 4 damage, they deal damage to the enemy hero, they clear the enemy board. This is a great card. I'm going to say 2 stars. I don't think this is going to enable any certain decks. It's not going to be the reason that certain decks are played, but it's a good card, and it's going to go in some decks. 1 mana, 1/2 Amalgam. Death Rattle, shuffle this in your deck. It keeps any enchantments. Is this going to enable anything crazy? I mean, it prevents you from fatiguing, but I don't know if there's a way to capitalize on the enchantment part of it. I toyed around with a priest deck that wanted you to, that basically put some shuffle junk into your deck thing just so you could win some long, grindy control matchups, but it was one of the worst decks I've played all expansion. Didn't do anything. I don't think that this is going to make that any more viable. 1 star. Death Rattle. All their minions fall asleep. Okay, but minions wake up at the start of the turn, so your opponent still gets to attack with their minions next turn. Is that right? Oh, it's Death Rattle. That's why. So if your opponent kills it during their turn, they don't get to attack with anything else. I think that this will see play in some control decks. It's kind of like an Ice Block. Or it's kind of like a Frost Nova. It's like a 4 mana Frost Nova that deals 3 damage to a minion of your opponent's choice. But if you think about, like, you know, hand buff Paladin, they've got a huge board of buffed minions. Boom, just drop Sleepy Resident, you can't die. It's as if you froze their board. If they kill it, then the rest of their minions can't attack anymore because they fall asleep. So how good is a 4 mana Frost Nova in today's Hearthstone? I think it's pretty good. But the decks that it's good against, I guess if it's good against hand buff Paladin, then I should say it's good, because hand buff Paladin is the most popular deck right now. So I'll give this 2 stars. I think it'll slot into some decks, mostly control decks or Reno decks. Give all other minions -1/-1. Give all their minions +1/+1. 1 star. It seems like too wacky of an effect for people to use well. Terrible Chef. 1 star. A 3 mana Nerubian Egg is not very good. It comes with a built-in way to destroy the egg, but maybe that's even a bad thing, because maybe you like to buff the egg and make it a pain for your opponent to have to choose between destroying it and then destroying the 4/4 or leaving it up, but then you keep getting attacked by it because you buffed up the egg. In this world, it's like, okay, well, just kill the chef, and you get a 4/4. Not that good. 1 star. Resort Valet. Discover a card from the newest expansion. 1 star. I have seen that the cards from the newest expansion are not very good. Although in Rogue, I guess, if because it can't be from a random class. If it's discovered, it's either neutral or from your class. So if the neutral cards end up being really good, this actually gets very good. My instinct is that the neutrals will not be very good. Though we've seen some good ones already. I really liked Incendious. Chiropractor. Give a minion +3/+3 and freeze it. One star. Beached Whale. This is an interesting card. It's a wacky card that, different from this wacky card right here. This one feels like a wacky card in a way that it's like it's never gonna not see play. Like, people are always gonna find one way to make this impressive. Resummoning taunt minions was a big theme of Druid. Cheating out Big Beast is a thing for Hunter, though. Like, this is 2 stars. People are gonna look for ways to slip this into decks. And I think it would be unlikely for none of those to be any good. So this is a 2-star card. Whenever another friendly pirate attacks, give it +1/+1. This goes in that Shaman Demon Hunter pirate package, which I didn't think was good, but maybe this changes my mind. No. 1 star. After an adjacent minion attacks, do 1 damage to because sorry, just real quick. Because your opponent just kills this. Like, any 3-mana card that has an effect while it's in play, they've printed maybe hundreds, probably not hundreds. I don't know, Hearthstone's been out for 10 years. Maybe I can say hundreds. Let's just say dozens. They've printed dozens of 2, 3, 4 mana cards that have effects. Let's just stick with 3 and 4 mana cards. 3 and 4 mana cards that have effects while they are in play. And they're always terrible. Because you play them on 3 and then they die. And if you wait until turn 7, I mean, on turn 7, if you play a 3-mana card, you only have 4 more mana left to try and take advantage of its while alive effect before it's your opponent's turn. They just get to kill it. These have always been bad. It might be fun to open the Hearthstone collection and just review them, but now 2-mana one I paused because I remember there was Khadgar is a 2-mana card with an effect that happens while it's alive. Whenever you summon a minion, summon like another copy of it. That was a great card. That was a 3-star card. But it was 2 mana, so there's a big difference there. On turn 10, you could play Khadgar into, 8 mana, summon huge things, and you summon a bunch of copies of those huge things. 2 mana is just cheap enough that you can synergize it with stuff so much more readily than 3 mana. 1 star. We'll go and prove our point. Let's prove our point right now. Let's take the detour. Open up Hearthstone client. Go to Wild. Filter for 3 mana. And we're just going to look at all the 3 mana cards that Hearthstone has printed over the years. Open up screen capture for Hearthstone. Here we go. Hearthstone. Sorry, I don't need to be going through my new cards. Let's go to wild cards. Get rid of new. 3 crafting, because I won't have most of them. Let's just go to neutral. So yeah, right away we get to start seeing examples of what I'm talking about. Your infused cards also infuse while in your deck. Terrible. Never saw play. played this, your opponent just killed it, and it didn't matter. It's also a pretty weak effect, I'll admit that. After you cast a spell, refresh your hero power. Okay, I don't know if this saw play. I didn't play in Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, but I know there was like a Raza Priest thing where your hero power cost is 0. But didn't that already have a way to refresh your hero power? Augmented Elec actually saw... I don't think it saw competitive play. I think people put it in decks for fun. I don't think it was very good. Your Death Rattle cards cost 1 less. This was terrible. Whenever you summon a Battlecry minion while this is in your hand, gain +1/+1. This is not an on-board effect, so actually slightly different than what I'm talking about. Okay, Bran is an exception, right? Bran was great. This is a big exception to the rule. But this is pretty powerful. So this is like the type of effect we're trying to keep in mind when we are trying to decide whether or not a 3-cost card that has to be alive to work is going to be good. Battlecry's triggered twice is immensely better than whenever another Thundering Pie attacks, give it +1/+1. But it's good to have a little bar set to know what we're up against. If a 3-mana card that has to be alive to work is going to be good. Technically this has to be alive to work, but you can also just play around it by just playing anything that you don't care that your opponent gets a 3/4 copy of. I mean, this one too, right? This has to be alive for it to do something when another minion dies. And it didn't see play. Cool card, but didn't see play. Giving your minions extra attack, slightly different, but these were competitive sometimes in like Odd Paladin, right? I don't think Odd Paladin was a thing during Dark Moon statue times, but like there was just the 3-mana 2/2 give your minions +1 attack from the classic set. And I think that saw played during Odd Paladin times. And that had to be alive for it to do something. The difference was its effects benefited the things you did on previous turns. That is, minions that you already had in play when you play this guy, those minions now get an effect this turn. As opposed to something you have to do first, and then stuff you do later after this is in play is going to be beneficial. So that's another little exception to our rule here. We understand that cards that buff your cards that you already played on previous turns might be better 3-mana cards that have to be alive to get their effect. Sorry, I'm figuring out what we're going to do for dinner. I'm going to hop off soon. But this is fun. I like going down memory lane. Your end of turn effects trigger twice. I didn't play during Frozen Throne meta, but this is a lot like Bran, where I could see it being really good. Um, okay. Um, This was terrible, right? It has to be alive to remember the spells. This was terrible, although technically it does something at the end of your turn. And then Death Rattle, so slightly different. This is kind of another exception. It was powerful enough that, I don't know, this specifically enabled like OTKs, I think. Actually, was this good? It was the 2 mana 2/4 all minions take double damage that was better. For exactly the reason I'm talking about, 2 mana is cheap enough to actually like combine with things in a reasonable way. 3 mana just rarely is. Um, I mean, this is kind of a while it's alive type of thing. While it's alive, it's gaining more attack, and this wasn't good. Not really the type of card I'm talking about, though. Um, okay, this is a big exception. This has to be alive to get its effect, and it actually was very good. A big difference was it was a 2/5 stat line. It also wasn't very good. It saw some play. History Buff is a classic example of what I'm talking about. This has to be in play for it to get its effect. It did not, it was terrible. Hobgoblin was mostly bad, though Goblins versus Gnomes was a weird time where lots of weird things were viable because the power level was so weak. This was another one. After card is added to your hand from their class, copy it. Terrible. Had to be alive while it was in play. If you just drop it on 3, it just dies, and then you don't get any effect. This was a tech card that worked right away when you played it. You just unfreeze your minions, so it saw play. This is another exception, but it's a 6 health. We're seeing a little theme here. Either the effect needs to be like a game-winning effect, like doubling your battle cries, doubling your end-of-turn effects, stuff is really powerful. Or the minion needs to have more than 4 health, so that way if you drop it on 3, it's not as likely that it's just dead. And then on turn 4, maybe you pop off with the magic carpet effect. Or what was the other one that, the Hawk one, the 2/5 Hawk Strider, right? 5 health, okay. More than 4 health. What else is here? Hero powers are disabled. I don't think this saw play, even with 5 health. Metronome I don't think saw play. You play it and threaten to draw a bunch of cards, but your opponent just kills it. I don't think this watch post saw play. Your minions have elusive. Only, they can just kill this and that effect goes away. Razor Scale. These both seem like tech cards. I don't think either of them really saw play. Also, this is all your minions. This has elusive, so this one is a little bit harder to kill. So like I could see something like this maybe seeing play. I don't think that one was good. Let's end this detour. Let's go back to the card review. This is bad. Hearthstone loves to print 3 mana cards that say whenever on them, and they're almost always bad. Right? Maybe that's a quicker way to do this, is just to search when for 3 mana cards. Terrible. 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 I think this was bad, but this one was slightly better than the other one. Terrible. Terrible. Anyway. After an adjacent minion attacks, do 1 damage to a random enemy. Seems terrible. 1 star. Why are you... Oh, I didn't see this, did I? Did I see this? Both players' spells cost 5 until the end of your next turn. No, I didn't see this, because it did the weird thing where it wasn't showing me all the cards at once. Anyway, this is... I'm gonna give it 2 stars. It seems like there's some potential. I'm running out of time, so I'm going quick here. Tidepole Pupil. If you've cast 3 spells while holding this, discover 1 of them. 1 star. The first application I can think of is like a Star Shooter, whatever, the mage one that gets better every time you play a Star Shooter. It's not called Star Shooter, but Dancing Stars, something, I don't know. And that deck sucks. I don't think this will be good. So I'm gonna 8/8 beast for your opponent. It attacks all of their minions. This seems playable. A board clear that gives you a 5/8? It's only a board clear sometimes. But I think it's a board clear often enough that this is 2 stars. It's going to go in some control / Reno decks. Give a friendly pirate Wind Fury. 1 star. I don't believe in the pirate stuff. Lamplighter, 1 star. I don't believe in the elemental stuff. Overplanner, 1 star. It doesn't actually draw you the cards. So 3 mana, 3/3, you get no card advantage. This is hilarious and probably bad design. But it has to be 1 star, because the only way it's good is if you don't put it in your deck. But it makes discovering pirate effects a lot more powerful. I do not think this is good design, though. A card that that is only good if you're trying to randomly generate it just feels so bad. But of course, it's so weird. Concierge. Your cards from another class cost 1 less. This is, again, 3 mana card that only does something while it's alive. I don't think it's good enough. 1 star. I'm glad we took that long tangent, because it popped up an additional time in this set evaluation. See, Bloodsail Recruiter might just be good because it can give you a 6/6 charge. 2 stars. This is another when it's when it's still alive type of effect. But man, this is a frustrating one. 7 health, so it's not that easy to kill. And you can't use minions to kill, rush minions to rush into it to kill it. This has got to be a 2 star. I like this card. They're really pushing the envelope on this type of effect. I really like that. They could have very easily made this like a 4/4 because the effect is really powerful. But they made it a 4/7 to be like, hey, if it's going to be a powerful effect that it needs to be alive for, we're going to make it likely that it's alive. So I'm a copy of a friendly location. 1 star. Seems terrible. The locations aren't that impressive, and board space is a thing, and you just play a second copy of the location yourself. You get a 5/5 alongside it, but 5 mana 5/5s aren't that exciting. After you use a location, gain 3 armor. 1 star, same reasoning. Cost 2 less for each time you've used location this game. 1 star, same reasoning. Discover an amazing amulet to give to both players. Take control of an enemy minion until the end of your turn. It has 1 attack this turn. Take control of an enemy minion until the end of your turn. So this is the broken version, this is the real version. So 3 random commons, 3 random legendaries. I think this, let's see, let's keep looking. Summon a random 4 cost. Summon a random 4 cost that can attack. Deal 6 damage to a minion, deal 6 damage. Restore 12 health. Take 6 damage, restore 12 health. Draw 3 cards, discard 2, draw 3. Reduce the cost of all cards in your hand by 1, reduce the cost of all. This is a 2-star card. Some of these are really powerful effects. Hand reducing, card drawing, direct damage. Those are the ones that really catch my eye. People would pay premiums to add that sort of stuff to their deck. It's a fun card. I think realistically it's 1 star actually. The more I think about it, 4 mana, 4 or 5. Your opponent gets some benefit out of it. All the Griftas in the past have been bad, but I like that they keep. I like the flavor. I like that they keep printing Griftas. Very cool, but just 1 star. After you draw a card, 50% chance to draw another. 1 star. These 50% effects have always been bad, like never meta, ever. Ever? Has there ever been a card that has a 50% chance to do something that was ever like mainstream, that was ever like a 3-star card? Some of them might have been a 2-star card in like really weird specific metas. I don't think we're going to be in a weird specific meta that's going to enable package dealer. 1 star. Deals octuple damage to minions. This is hilarious. Maybe good. 2 stars. It's a good stat line. 8 health. And it has 8 attack against minions. Sure. Yeah, like 4 mana 8/8 that only deals 1 damage to face, but I think that's viable. I think you could put this in like a tempo deck. Realistically, their decks are just so finely tuned these days that work towards specific outcomes that you actually can't afford to just put like weirdly solid 4-drops in your decks. It's a 1 star, unfortunately. I like to live the dream that we're in a Hearthstone where weirdly solid 4-drops are 2-star cards, but in reality they're 1-star cards. If they don't draw you towards your win condition, mana cheat you towards your win condition, or rush your opponent down, or generate crazy value, they can't be played. Craft a custom 1-cost potion. 2/2 demon. 4 armor. How many of these effects do you get? If you get to combine multiple of these effects, this is still it's the same thing as here. It's like this could be a weirdly solid 3-drop where it's like, oh yeah, it's pretty solid to just like add some of these like weirdly powerful 1-cost potential cards to your hand. But since it doesn't draw you towards your win condition or mana cheat you towards your win condition or generate insane value, it's just a 1 star. We already looked at patches. We need to go back. Carry on grub. Get a 1-cost suitcase. Pack the top 2 cards of your deck into it. Get another card and another card. So I assume when you play this, you just get the 2 cards in your hand. So it's like 4 mana, 5/4, draw a card. Draw 2 cards with extra steps. Maybe let's call it 5 mana since you have to pay for the suitcase. Four mana, or I'm sorry, 5 mana, 5/4, draw 2 cards. Might see play, especially since there's some flexibility benefits to it. Especially since there's like a top card of your deck, Priest Delio. 2 stars. It might go in like Reno Priest because of the Priest top card of your deck synergy. Okay. If you're rolling a spell that costs 4 more, summon a copy of this. 2 stars. It's a solid card with a reasonable condition that'll find its way into some random decks. It's not gonna enable any specific decks, but it's like an option you'll slide into some other decent 5 mana spell decks. Customs of Force. Enemy cards that didn't start in their deck cost 2 more. It's a tech card. It's not terrible. 3 mana, 2/5. It's like a good stat line. These types of tech cards, enemy cards cost more, have tended to see play. Though usually they're like battle cries, right? It's like battle cry, enemy stuff costs more next turn. Because if you just play this against hand buff paladin, does nothing. Not only because they actually don't have cards that didn't start in their deck, but even if they did, they're just going to kill this with the stuff they have on board. It's hard to play this on a board where it's not just dead where it matters. I'm going to bravely say 1 star. Get a 2-cost cheese that summons 3 1-cost minions that upgrades each turn. Too slow, it's 1 star. It's making me jump back and forth here. The travel agent, discover location from any class. 1 star. This reminds me of the 2 mana 2/2 discover a secret from another class. Oh no, you could put this in rogue. Yeah, this is maybe 3 stars because I really believe in the rogue other class deck, but this gives you a way to get other class locations in rogue. 3 stars. If you control another pirate, equip a random weapon from your deck. Oh. Oh. So that 6 mana 5 attack weapon with 2/infinite durability in Demon Hunter, who might also do the pirate package, could just put this in their deck. You get a 6/4 along with it. That's pretty powerful. I don't think it's going to be good. 1 star. But I think people will try it. My prediction is that it will be worse than a tier 2 deck. Drink server. Death Rattle, get a random drink spell. It has 3 uses. I didn't like the drinks that much, did I? Thing is, it kind of works with the rogue thing because it's 3 cards from another class wrapped into 1. I'm going to give this 2 stars. There's an outside chance that it enables stuff in a very valuable way. We're almost there. AFK, 1 star. And Marin we've already played with. He's like a 3-star card. Okay, that's my card review. I gotta run. Just a little over 2 hours. Thank you for being in chat or not being in chat. Thank you for watching at a later time. This was fun. I'm excited for the new set. Rogue seems like the best. We'll see if I'm right.